On behalf of Yvette and Tristan, I would like to welcome you all here on this occasion where we celebrate the life of Anton Van Wyk. This is an informal meeting, and the family would like to invite whoever wants to say something to come up to the podium at the right time to do so. So it's not formal. I'm just going to explain in a short while what the program is like. Let me first of all welcome the family. We have Yvette and her son Tristan. We have her mum, Audrey van Schoor, and we have her sister Dana Silje. That's the close family. Her sister is in Australia, Linda Clarkson. She's not able to be here, but she is going to deliver a short video from their childhood, which I think I'm looking forward to. Apparently, there's a few pokes in there. I also would like to welcome all the friends here, people from N1 City Hospital, people from Netcare, as well as Anton's private friends. And just for those of you, just to know, there's also people linked in on the live stream, so the function is also being streamed on YouTube, and a video is being generated from the proceedings. The program will be as follows. First, a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to have a few speeches, after which you can stay and you are invited to stay to have some tea and some refreshments afterwards. There is a commemoration book on the table over there, and if you so wish, please write a message. It's on this table. In terms of ablutions, we have the restrooms over there, and obviously the space is ours, so you can go out into the garden and onto the lawn when you want. We will probably be finished by about 3 o'clock, so I hope we won't keep you longer, for those of you that have other engagements in the afternoon. I am going to stick to my written text because knowing myself, I get carried away, and then I so easily can forget a lot of important things that I want to say. So first, I'm going to give a eulogy on Anton. After that, we will watch the video that Linda has provided. Then we're going to have Tristan talking about his dad, Matron Letty Blom, who worked for 2 decades with Anton at the helm of N1 City Hospital, will have a few words. And then lastly, Professor de Kok, who was our first PAB chairman and who has been at the hospital ever since 1993. And it is also so that he is retiring completely at the end of this year. And then, if she's up to it, Yvette will also say something. And then, as I said, we invite whoever wants to come up to the podium and say something. You are more than welcome. So let's start with Anton's beginnings. He was born in Milnerton, and he went to school in Milnerton, and he matriculated here. After school, he enrolled to study medicine at the University of Stellenbosch, where he qualified MBCHB in 1981. During his student days, he was an active sportsman, and he was very fond of surfing. He always loved the sea, and he would always find time to get to the water. He spent many afternoons at various beaches with his student buddy, Dr. Willie Grandil, who's one of our anesthetists in town nowadays. And I'm told that they attended their classes regularly, but somehow I'm not so convinced. Yvette, Tristan, Dr. Grandil can't be here today, unfortunately, but he sent his condolences, and he said to tell you that you are in his thoughts. Later on, Anton took up sailing and skiing, and they acquired a ski boat and a weekend place where they went for weekends and even holidays. And those were tranquil and very enjoyable times, I was told. After his internship, he completed his national service, and then he joined Dr. McMahon at the Western Province Emergency Services. Back in the day, they were based at Karl Bremer Hospital. He had a great passion for trauma and clinical work, and he worked all over Western Cape. He and Dr. McMahon would regularly be seen charging off in their Land Rovers somewhere to one or other disaster scene. He was thus the natural and obvious successor to Alan McMahon and became the head of the service on the retirement of Alan McMahon. In 2000, Anton joined our hospital as general manager. He was appointed manager when we, the doctors, still had a 50% share in the hospital, and hence we were involved in appointments. His appointment, therefore, was made with the full support of all the clinicians at N1 City Hospital. At that stage, we had 3 different managers already. I remember saying to him at his accepting function that I believe N1 City now has the best person for the job we could possibly have wished for. His tenure confirmed this 1,000 times over. Anton was both a dedicated clinician and a seasoned manager. This came as a blessing during the 20 years of development, expansion, struggle, turmoil, change, hard work, and sorrow that such a job brings. Anton had a hand in many events at our hospital. He was the driving force behind all our achievements during the last 20 years. He was there during the 4 different hospital expansions up to where we are today, namely a 6-ward, 3 ICU, 8 theatre hospital with a cath lab, an oncology complex, the medical chambers, and the Med Park extension. He was pivotal in the establishment of the first interventional theatre complex in Africa, and he fought very hard to get it done. This was the brainchild of Dr. Gerrit Coetzee, but the getting it done part is where Anton shined. N1 City Hospital was the first hospital ever to install equipment to host telecast surgery, and the first bariatric gastric bypass surgery was performed at our hospital. 5 international surgical workshops were held at our hospital, where surgery was performed in theatre and streamed to the boardroom with interactive links. This was a first for South African private hospitals. Notorious internationals visited and performed surgery at our hospital. Due to his vision and support, the Netcare Foundation started funding cochlear implant surgery at the hospital for needy children. He was instrumental in the building of the new Blauberg Netcare Hospital, and he was the project team leader. I can remember how we on occasion sat down to plan and strategize about state-of-the-art theatre design that were IT and video stream enabled. Having established such a flagship hospital from the ground up, I thought that he would leave to become the manager at Blauberg. As it was, he just lived around the corner from the hospital, but he graciously stayed with us. He was a talent scout and always on the lookout for new doctors to join the group and to enhance the services at N1 City Hospital. Numerous young doctors have told me how he assisted them to establish practices and to become successful private practitioners. Anton was also a juggler of note. Being employed by Netcare, he had an obligation to follow corporate policy and directives. However, his heart was with N1 City, and he certainly was our #1 batsman. He battled our case day in and day out. Sometimes it created tension with head office, but for this loyalty and dedication to us and our hospital, I will always treasure him. Anton was a very balanced person and an excellent chairperson. He never took sides and always looked at both sides of the coin. He supported me very much, but there were the occasions when I was called in to get a little bit of advice on life and relationships. This usually happened when I had misbehaved somewhere, sometime. I was then not just told to go and make amends, but he would assist in clearing the water. And then all was forgiven and forgotten. No grudges. He was a very loyal person, and I can call him my friend. One cannot really stop naming the qualities of Anton Van Wyk. First, he was an excellent clinical doctor. Then he became an excellent manager. He even did his honors degree in business administration. He was a good speaker. He was quick to praise and slow to criticize. He was task-driven and a perfectionist. He was genuinely friendly and had great compassion. Whenever one of the doctors or senior staff members or family members were in hospital, he would make a point of visiting them. He regularly walked the hospital, and I often saw him talking to whoever crossed his path, be it a porter, a nurse, a doctor, security staff, or whomever. He was well read in philosophy and psychology. Many people may not know these other interesting facts. He had a great voice and was a good singer. He liked music and was playing guitar. He was an artist, and typically Anton, he even took painting lessons. He was forever a student. During the last 3 years, he had been doing his baccalaureate in law, and was busy with his final year subjects. He was quite frustrated for not being able to progress as he wanted to due to his illness. Lastly, he was an excellent father. He adored Tristan, and the two of them would spend hours and hours talking, two best buddies, enjoying each other's company. He was very proud of his family. He unfortunately became ill with a complex of serious conditions necessitating his early retirement. I'm privileged to have had Anton Van Wyk as a friend, a colleague, and a mentor. I'm also privileged to have been the family surgeon, treating first his mom, Phoebe, then his dad, Edward, and at the end, Anton himself. Today, I celebrate his life, and I salute a gentleman. Anton, I will fondly remember you with enduring memories. Thank you. We're now going to the video from Linda.
Hi, my name is Linda Clarkson, and most of you know me as Anton's sister. I am totally broken-hearted at the unexpected loss of Anton, and I'm so sorry that I cannot be here today, especially with Viv and Tristan, and also for Audrey and Den. I have known my beautiful brother for 61 of his 64 years, and I hope you will bear with me as I share a brief version of his life through my own eyes. And this is recording number 96. And I'm really struggling to get through it. Our parents, Phoebe and Eddie, met at a very young age. My mother walked into the youth hall where my dad was placing the star on top of a very tall Christmas tree. He looked down, their eyes met, and he nearly fell off his ladder. The rest is history. After a brief courtship, they got engaged and then married. Anton was born on the 7th of July 1957 to overjoyed parents. My dad had returned to complete his military service in the medical corps, leaving my mom with chubby baby and kind to me, and tolerated my behavior with a maturity way beyond his young age. He decided that he would be my protector for life, and that is exactly what he did. My parents made sure that we were well loved. Our grandparents lived close by, and many of our cousins lived just around the corner. We went to a lovely few holidays at the sea, and we both loved the beach. I was devastated when Anton started school and left me at home with the pet chickens and dog. I would wait at the gate for him to come home, and when he did, he would patiently take out all his books and read them to me. As kids, we had our little squabbles, but they were never serious. The last time I spoke to him on Skype, he reminded me of the incident we had as kids when I stole his pencils. He pretended to be angry, and so angry that he picked up the chair he was sitting on and lifted it above his head in a mock gesture to frighten me. In the process, hit the ceiling light and glass came crashing down around us. I was cowering in the corner, giggling away when my dad rushed in. All he saw was Anton with his chair above his head, aimed at me, cowering in the corner. Anton was severely punished, and I felt really bad for him. We were totally overjoyed when we moved to Cape Town for my dad's work in the late 60s. We loved the sea and the mountains and everything about it. Anton did very well at school and brought home lots of awards and trophies. I went off to boarding school in year 6, but every weekend when I got home, he would tell me stories about his surfing, and we would play our guitar and sing songs together. A few years ago, Anton actually sent me a CD that he had burned from the tapes he recorded of us singing and playing guitar with friends. Those were just such glorious, carefree days. He finished matric in 1974 at Milnerton High School, and he still attended some of the reunions with many of his old school friends. He went off to Stellenbosch to study medicine. He loved it and took full advantage of the social and party scene. He enjoyed it a bit too much and failed his 3rd year, but as many of you know, Dr. Van Wyk when he starts something, he always finishes it, and that is exactly what he did. While at uni, he did regular surfing trips to Jeffreys and Plett. Surfboard on the roof, his gear and guitar packed in the car. He even took me on a surf trip to Plett. What brother takes his crazy little sister on a surfing trip? Well, Anton did. He was never embarrassed to be seen with me. He had his way of protecting me and holding me behind the neck and steering me in the right direction. When he graduated from uni as a doctor, we were all so proud of him, and he was pretty chuffed about it himself. He went off to do his military service in the Navy, and among other things, he ended up as the ship's doctor on some kind of military vessel. I didn't know much about it, as everything was supposed to be top secret. We shared a flat in Milnerton for some time during this period. He came home unexpectedly one weekend, very late at night, or it may have been early in the morning. I had double-locked the doors and didn't wake up when he rang the doorbell. He climbed 3 stories up the drainpipe and nearly gave me a heart attack when he fell onto the balcony smashing some pot plants. So he was not just a cool surfing guitar-playing academic doctor, he was also a bit of a closet stuntman. After completing his military service, he joined the Cape Metro Emergency Services. He had this impressive emergency vehicle with flashing lights and a siren, and he was not scared to use it. If you had a car accident, got injured or trapped on a mountain, or fell down a cliff, Dr. Van Wyk and his team would be there to rescue you and save your life. He was also Margaret Thatcher's attending doctor on standby during her visit to Cape Town. One night he was racing off to an emergency when he tried to avoid another car which swerved in front of him. His emergency vehicle crashed and rolled down the embankment, landing on its roof. It was definitely his early acquired driving skills that saved his life that night. He was left hanging upside down from his seatbelt. He stayed calm, cut his belt with a knife, and landed on broken glass, lacerating his right hand severely. I raced to Groote Schuur Hospital where he was taken. The first thing he said to me when I arrived was, "Shucks, I suppose that buggers up my chances of becoming a surgeon." Anton had some lovely girlfriends in his time, but none as beautiful as the one he married. I remember the morning he called me after he first met Viv. He could not wait to tell me of this girl that he had met with the laughing eyes and the cheeky smile. I had never seen him so love-struck before, and he could not wait to introduce us. I had to check with Viv exactly how the story went, because I thought Anton had embellished it, but everything he told me about their first meeting was true, and here it is. Anton and his friends went out to the same club as Viv and her friends. He saw Viv on the dance floor and just had to meet her. They ended up sitting next to each other at the bar, and I'm sure there was some strategy involved in his part. He turned to her and asked her to dance. The song was playing, "There Must Be an Angel Playing With My Heart" by Annie Lennox. As they walked onto the dance floor, Viv saw all the pages attached to Anton's belt. "So what's all this stuff?" she asked. "I'm a doctor," he replied. "Oh, yeah, sure," was Viv's cynical reply. Later that night, they all decided to go to someone's house for coffee. Viv ended up in the car with Anton, more careful planning on his behalf. On the way, they encountered a massive traffic jam. The police were going from car to car to let everyone know what was happening. As they got to Anton's car, they were relieved to see him. "Dr. Van Wyk, thank goodness it's you. The emergency services are struggling to get here. Do you think you can attend to the injured?" Anton looked at Viv and asked, "Is it okay if I leave you here while I help, Viv?" She looked at him with big eyes, and all she could say was, "Oh, shucks, so you really are a doctor." Anton was obviously a keeper, and Viv agreed to go on their first real date with him. He had organized for them to go to a really fancy restaurant, but on the way there they ran out of fuel. "Isn't this supposed to happen on the way home?" Viv giggled. "Oh, my sister loaned my car again, and she didn't fill it up when she was finished," he said indignantly. He promptly got onto his two-way radio to the emergency services, and 15 minutes later, with flashing lights and a cheeky hoot-hoot from their siren, they delivered some fuel. Anton never ever allowed me to drive his car, ever, but I was happy to serve as a scapegoat to save his dignity. What are sisters for? My family and I loved Viv the moment we met her, and Viv's family adored Anton. We were all very happy when they got engaged and then married at Spear Farm, Wine Farm, on the 7th of April 1989. Viv was so keen to walk down the aisle and marry Anton that she forgot her flowers in the car. She promptly ran back to the car to fetch them. For a moment we all thought that she was doing a runner. On the 15th of June 1999, gorgeous Tristan was born. He was the cutest little baby, and everyone just adored him. And now he is this amazing young man, a rock of strength to Viv and her family. Anton moved from the emergency services to Tygerberg Hospital and then to Karl Bremer, where he was the medical superintendent, and in between all this he also completed his MBA. He then moved on to work at the Netcare Group and recently finished up working as the manager of N1 City Hospital. At the end of 2000, my family and I relocated to Sydney, Australia. Anton looked after both my parents until they retired in Cape Town. I was there when both my parents passed away 8 years apart. Anton was my absolute rock and solace during these times, and I don't know what I would have done without him. When I needed him in 2017, he flew over to Australia without hesitation. The moment he wrapped his arms around me at the airport, I knew everything was going to be okay. That is the kind of effect he had on those around him. We spent a lot of time talking on Skype every week, especially when he had to give up his job due to being unwell. Some days I could see he was not doing well, but he always answered my calls and was happy to chat. It has been 2 weeks now without our weekly chats, and I still find myself wanting to Skype him, and then I remember he's no longer there, and I have this big empty hollow in my chest. Edmund Anton Van Wyk, Anton Toons, Antonie, Dad, Dr. Van Wyk, brother, husband, father, son, brother-in-law and son-in-law, uncle, colleague and friend, scholar, administrator, artist and musician. There is an empty spot in our lives with your name on it. You have lived such a full and significant life, exciting and eventful, filled with adventure, joy and love, but also pain, loss and heartache. Your beautiful story is not defined by one moment in time, or the last few minutes or seconds of your life. It is the sum total of the love and friendship and all the lives you have touched. Let us not live in a world where love is invisible. join me in showing kindness, understanding and judging less. Be kind to a stranger. Give grace to a friend having a bad day. Be forgiving to yourself. And if you can't find kindness, be kindness. Rest in peace, Anton. You will always be remembered and never forgotten.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to ask Tristan to come to the podium.
All right. Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's probably a good idea. You'll have to excuse me. There may be moments where my face starts raining. I just need a little bit of a second before I begin here. But let me first just say again, hello and thank you to everyone. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the overwhelming amount of people that showed up today, both in person and those who have joined the service digitally. My father was a man of great reach, and it is only in his passing that I'm beginning to understand the true scale and impact that he left on this world. There are so many lives that were touched by his deeds that I would never be able to count them all in a single sitting. I remember the stories Dad used to tell me of the time before I was even a thought, when he was in the emergency medical services and serving as a naval doctor, and the stories would always inspire me. It was hard for me to ever comprehend the seemingly endless perseverance my dad had when it came to his work and home lives. I heard it in his tales from N1, and I saw it when he would fix things around the house, because a job was never finished unless it was finished properly. I'm not entirely sure how long my dad has been a doctor for, and off the top of my head, I'd probably still have to ask my mom about how long he's been a husband for, but I can tell you without fault that he has been an amazing father for 22 years. Without him, I wouldn't be half the man I am standing before you today. I wouldn't have half the wisdom or half the skills, because I learned more about life from my dad than a school could ever teach me, and he's probably the only reason I didn't fail math, as he'd constantly tell me that for every sum I got wrong, a bridge would be falling over. My dad was always an endless well of knowledge when I was a kid, seeming to have all the answers to every question I could ever think to ask. But as time drew on, I found myself in the teacher's shoes from time to time, finally having the joy of getting to pass knowledge on to him, too. I will never forget our conversations and debates, Dad, and I'm sorry I was always too busy to have more of them. One of our last talks, ironically enough, drifted onto the topic of mental health, and we discussed the prospects of how someone can deal with the anxious and depressive atmosphere that seems to cloud the people's lives in the modern era and these trying times. And as someone who has always been a big advocate for mental health awareness, I wanted to share a metaphor of mine with everyone. We are all complex machines, built over years of experience and dented and sometimes broken by the bumps along the way. And you are the only one with the blueprints to your own soul. Only you know where the pieces go, and unfortunately, no one else can read that blueprint to fix that damage for you. But there are always people there to help pass you the spanner when you need it, to help find that spare part. There are always people who can help us as long as you are willing to reach through the grime and make the fix yourself. And for me, my dad was that person who was always there to pass me the spanner when I needed it, and to provide me with a shoulder to cry on and someone to talk to. And when I heard of my dad's passing, There was a point where I was furious, not at him, but at the world. I was angry that the loss of someone so big somehow didn't warrant the stopping of time or a second to breathe. I was mad that my dad was gone and the world refused to acknowledge that anything had changed. He was a man of great reach, and that reach can still be seen through the people here today. From his days before I knew him, through his time at N1, and into his hippie art phase, Dad was a stoic force of nature that never failed to hold the attention of those around him. And I hope that his memory will live on long through the people here as well. I'd like to close with a quote that I think accurately described the man my dad was and the courage he showed me, by Heraclitus. No man steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Mrs. Letty Blom.
We weten, Tristan, baie dankie vir die geleentheid om iets te sê namens een stad hospitaal. Anton se passie in die lewe was altyd om die beste te gee. Wat 'n voorreg was dit om saam met hom te kon gewerk het. Saam met hom was die N1 stadspan formidabel. Hy het ons geslyp en ons gementor, ons talente uitgebring om die beste te wees. En ons was. Hy was die go-to persoon vir sy mede hospitaalbestuurders in die groep. En as hy by 'n vergadering ingestap het, was sy teenwoordigheid gevoel. Sy talente was onbeperk. Hy was 'n akademikus. Ons was die eerste netcare hospitaal wat 'n spesifieke opleidingslokaal gehad het. Hy het ons die geleentheid gegee om ons personeel die beste opleiding te gee wat moontlik daar was. Dit was die eerste hospitaal wat e-learning daar gehad het vir personeel. Hy was verskeie kere, was ons oor die vingers getik omdat ons dit gedoen het. Maar hy was 'n strateeg en hy het 'n visie gehad van waar hy in 'n stad wou heen gevat het. Ek wil net 'n staaltjie vertel oor sy strategie, met sy die feit dat ek sê hy's 'n strateeg. Ek het net begin as 'n verpleegdiensbestuurder en ons gaan na 'n kongres toe. Baie op my senuwees pak ek als in vir die wis en die onwis, maar met dit beteken dit dat my tas so swaar is ek kan hom skaars dra. Maar die gasheer wat hy altyd was en die gentleman, gee vir my jou tas. Nee, ek kan nie my tas dra nie. Ja, gee jou tas. Op die lughawe moet ons myle loop, maar hy draai die tas. Ek sien hy laat nou so 'n bietjie skeef, maar ons loop. Ek sê, wil jy nie my tas teruggee nie? Nee. kom by Jan Smits, of moet ons weer so van bakboord na stuurboord loop en hy dra die tas, sonder om iets te sê, maar baie ongelukkig, of baie moeilik, maar sy gesig is nader nie so rooi gesweet. Daai Desember kry die hele exco tasse met wielietjies. Hy was wel belese. As ons in 'n vergadering ingestap het, het ons altyd, moes ons was daar eers wat ons moes geleer het uit elke vergadering uit. Partykeer was hy baie ver bo ons koppe, maar ons het geluister en ons het en as hy 'n vraag gevra het, het ons partykeer bietjie geskarrel om dit te kon geantwoord het. Hy was 'n ongelooflike gasheer. As daar iets aangebied was by die hospitaal, dan het hy gekyk, laat almal reg is en laat almal het wat hulle nodig het. Die mooiste maniere ooit. Deur die 20 jaar wat ons saam gewerk het, was daar partykeer, my blaas het baie na my oë, en dan, as ek daar inkom en ons praat oor iets, dan word my gesig nat, vloei my gesig. En dan haal hy hierdie wit sakdoek uit, en so het ek 'n verskeie wit sakdoeke in my laai gehad, dat dit naderhand nodig was, dat ek kom 'n paar pakke by Woolies gaan koop en sê, hier is net plaasvervangers. Net keer het nie, dink ek, altyd besef wat 'n ongelooflike waardevolle persoon hulle by Union-stad gehad het. Maar hulle het dit tog, moes ons verskeie goed uitprobeer, en met al die akkreditasies en die eenheidsbestuurders wat hy is, en die exco wat hy is, sal weet, as ons nie 100% gekry het, het hy gevra, nou hoekom nie? Want net 100% was goed genoeg vir hom, want kwaliteit was alles. Hy, Tristan, die eerste keer wat ek hom ontmoet het hy in sy sak 'n foto van jou gehad. En dit was vir baie jare so. En as hy 'n nuwe foto van jou gekry het, dan het hy my gebel om te kom tee drink. En dan het ons eers oor jou gesels. En ons het baie ouerlike ondervindings met mekaar gedeel en baie keer baie lekker gelag oor jou sê goed. Hy was vir jou ongelooflik lief en vir jou ook net al die jare, al die mooiste goed van julle gesê en met ons gedeel. Hy was ongelooflik lief vir sy hospitaalpersoneel. Ons het pannekoek daar gehou, wat hy pannekoek gebak het. En partykeer dan gevra, hoeveel personeel is daar nog? Want die exco span moes die pannekoek gebak het. Op een van daai geleenthede was een van die exco personeellede, sy ma oorlede. En hy was besig, hy het 2 panne gehad en hy was besig met dit en sy het ingekom. En hy het alles net, die panne net afgehaal en eers na haar toe gegaan en met haar gepraat. En dis wat hy gedoen het. Hy was lief vir ons almal. Sy nagedagtenis sal nooit sterf nie. Iets van hom is in elkeen van ons vasgevang, wat saam met hom gewerk het. En ons is en sal altyd vir hom ongelooflik lief bly. Baie dankie.
Are you ready? Do you want me to ask Professor de Kok to come? Okay.
Moet eers die bril aansit. Nou kan ek nie vir julle sien nie. Dankie, André. Okay. Hi Letty, baie dankie. everything that you've said there, I know all those stories because he would always come home and tell me. And absolutely, N1 City family was his family too. So, yeah, it's just, this whole happening is, for me, just so overwhelming. I look at photos of Anton and I'm struck by how closely he would hold me and hug me. That was Anton. He always made me feel safe and secure. He was my rock, my roots, and my pillar of strength. He supported me no matter what. He let me free to be, but was always there. He was the most unique person. He was a constant engaging father and would drop everything to be there experiencing the next event in Tristan's life. The conversations the two of them would have at times was way above my level of comprehension, but I would sit and listen and watch with pride how they soaked each other's words of wisdom up, knowing Tristan got this incredible yearning to learn and explore from his dad. He loved us always, and I'm so grateful for the amazing experiences we have had together, both before and after Tristan's birth. This is a tough journey, but we will get through it. I do not have words for the genuine support and love we have received from everyone. Just know they carry me through the next steps. Anton loved to tell stories of his experiences, as you've heard from Letty, as you've heard from Tristan. All about his life. His stories would go way back, and it would include many of you here today. Whether it was surfing, whether it was the Navy, whether it was metro days, whether it was school days or his matric year, whether it was his experience at work. He told the stories with passion and fond memories it brought back. Some of them he enjoyed so much, I would hear them over and over again. Happily, many of them included me and Tristan, and we can look back at them with laughter and joy. Thank you all for being here. I know each of you have your own story to tell about how Anton impacted your lives. There are so many people to thank, but a few I would like to mention. Firstly, Mom and Dad for just being there. I need say no more. My girlfriends, Michelle, Linda Harper, Salome, you took me swimming in that frigging cold sea. It was good for my soul, couldn't believe it. Linda from Mauritius, the book club girls, I think it's called the wine club girls, and so many, many more of you, and I know I've just forgotten so many of my girlfriends. And Tristan, you have been an absolute rock to me. To Sean Bierman and Wayne, my neighbor, you both protected Tristan and I from the very difficult tasks that needed to happen. Thank you for that shielding and for still being there for us, very special neighbors and friends. To Dr. Andre Potty, thank you for taking such good care of Anton as a patient, but also for being a supportive business colleague and a good friend. Anton always had tremendous respect for you and enjoyed the long conversations you would have together when time allowed. from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being there when I needed you. You have been my pillar of strength in so many ways. Linda, my sister-in-law, Anton's beautiful sister, we are all heartbroken by what has happened, and we will miss Anton's presence for a very long time. We need to accept that he is at peace and no longer in pain. He has passed that pain on to us for now, which we will bear, but in time, the happy memories will replace the pain. And to Mark, Linda's husband, thank you for being there to support her through this very difficult time. Tristan, you are an amazing soul, my boy. You have so many of your dad's caring traits. Fortunately, you also have his brains. So don't waste them. Remember that bridge. Thank you for being by my side. We will get through this together. I love you with all my heart. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here and to those on the live stream. Let's turn the happy memories Anton has left for us and hang on to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. From the clinical side, I don't think there's anybody more apt to talk to us than Professor de Kock, who was at the hospital on the 1st of May 1993 when the hospital opened. That's quite a long time. How long is that now? 2003, 2013, that makes it 28 years, isn't it? 28 years. So Professor de Kock is going to say a few words on his relationship with Anton and the long period of time that he was at the hospital. And he might even say a little bit about how the hospital was before Anton came. Prof de Kock.
How's Letty? Just to put your mind at rest, the Americans put 2 men onto the moon before suitcases had wheels. I may repeat a few things which Potty said, and that will only mean that you can realize that we discussed Anton many times. I didn't prepare anything about what happened, but the fact is that the first manager was Selvin, what was his name? Sharon. That was on the, Bernie Hurwitz was then the owner of the hospital. And he was then followed by Sampi, we can't remember his surname, and then a Dr. De Tooy, and then the Physicians Advisory Board, which I started. The post was then advertised, and at that stage, and it was only the first and the last time that the Physicians Advisory Board had interviews with the applicants. And that is where we started with Anton. Now, Anton Van Wyk, the relationship with Netcare head office and with the N1 City Hospital family, which we were, can be summarized as like that he was the wicket keeper for head office, Netcare, but he was, like Potty said, the openings batsman for his family at N1 City. He knew every nook and cranny of the hospital, but he also knew all the doctors and their families. And like Potty said, if someone was admitted, he will always visit you, each and everybody, and if you were as pretty as my wife, you would also get a bouquet of flowers. He knew all the nursing staff, all the personnel, maintenance, porters, cleaners, and the kitchen staff. When he retired, I phoned him. No, when he retired, I wrote him a letter, and the last sentence of my letter read, "There will be only one Anton Van Wyk." When I phoned him on the 7th of July on his birthday, my last sentence was, "There will only be one Anton Van Wyk." This is the man we shall miss, but this is also the man we shall always remember.
Thank you, Prof. I'm going to extend an invitation to whoever wants to come up and say a few words. Are there people that wish to come up and say something about Anton or share a few memories? Please come up. If I may ask if you can just introduce yourself and your relationship with Anton.
My name's Henry Jooster, and I'm one of his school buddies. And I thought I'd better come up here and speak on behalf of the school buddies, because even if there are other school buddies here, I'm not going to recognize them. Anton and I, we go back to our school days here at Milnerton, and we were really good buddies. But I need to tell you I need to pop the bubble here. Anton was a great guy, but I need to tell you about two of his failures in life. The one he undertook to teach me guitar, he failed. Not because of a lack of effort and persistence, but because of my lack of... I've got a brother that says every time I sing, I create a new tune. So the second failure was, he took me down to Muizenberg one day to teach me surfing. O genade, I thought ek het gedink ek gaan versuip daai dag. But Anton was there, and we had good times. There was a third failure also, now that I think of it. I was studying at Bloemfontein University. He was at Stellenbosch, and he set me up with a date. And I drove all the way from Bloemfontein to the Ewell, Yeshua, and Stellenbosch. And that date didn't work out either. So we had good days, and we stayed in contact, not as much as I would have liked to. Over the years, we kept contact. Loved his mom and dad, Phoebe and Ed. They really extended. Linda will know. I don't know about other friends, but I seem to spend a lot of time in the flat up in Milnerton. And his parents really looked after. In fact, when we moved from Johannesburg to Rustenburg one year, they took our kids off our hands and looked after them for a week while we moved and settled in and so on. So, great family, and I think Anton inherited some of his qualities of caring and so on from them. It's been really great. But I want to close by just telling one of my great successes in life. My wife, Sonia, she's sick at the moment with asthma, she's not here. We often talk about this, about one of the highlights of my life, my successes, is actually doing their wedding. With a harp, you remember it? Of course you'll remember it. We remember it often as well. And it's incredibly great. What a privilege it was when Anton and Vivette asked me to do the wedding way back when. And that's one of my success stories, and it's so great. And we've been praying for you. We often pray for you. And Tristan, I didn't get to know you too well. I saw you when you were a chokerkie, man. That's... yeah. So we remember Anton, great fondness, good friend over the years, and we share your loss. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Anybody else? There is somebody there. Just before you speak, let me just say, those of you that have other engagements, feel free to leave. You can leave around the corner there. And for the rest of you, we invite you to stay. We're going to have some refreshments afterwards. But first, we're going to have a look at another video after this talk.
Hi, so I'm Andy and Margie Carr. I've made a couple of notes. I brought the wrong glasses, and this is going to go in good Afrikaans terms, soos 'n hakke en stote, so please.
As long as you brought the right wife, we're good.
I hope this is not offensive, but I'm going to call it as it is. So let's go. Life has the strangest way of bringing people into your life, and when you first meet that person, you think, geez, what a doers. This guy's like arrogant, he's bombastic, and sometimes like downright strange. You can't quite place the person. And sure enough, my first impressions of Anton were like we met Anton because of the kids coming together and so on. And you can't quite place people, and it's just one of those weird things. And as you move along, life circumstances, you kind of are thrown together again and again and again. And it's almost like you have this pre-programmed kind of prejudgment of people that we inherently carry. And as you more and more engage with this person, you just start to discover who they really are. How little did I know at the time of first meeting Anton that the person would become one of my best friends. And even more so, become a guardian angel for me. What a fascinating man, Anton. What an outside-of-box thinker. What an inquiring mind. What an inspiration. What a pillar of strength we've all lent on at some point. What an exceptional gentleman. Below the hardened exterior that life creates on all of us, if one strips away the veneer that Anton carried and look at the fundamental, inherent who he was or is, we can honor his compassion, his care, his love, his gentleness. It's been an absolute honor to have walked a short path together as of those astounding blessings he's bestowed on us by life, by meeting such an individual as Anton. And he certainly leaves a lasting impression on all of us. He will be dearly missed, and I wish him well on his journey.
Shortest of them all. Thank you. Viv, Tristan, much love, much respect, also for speaking to all of us. 2 weeks ago, it was a big shock. I'm a child of the 80s, and the thing that kept going through my head was, this is what it feels like when doves cry. It kept going through my head over and over and over again. But then Prince came back. Go listen to the whole song, but just want to share this one paragraph from Prince. There is a park that is known for the face it attracts, colorful people whose hair on one side is swept back. The smile on their faces, it speaks of profound inner peace. Ask where they're going, they'll tell you nowhere. They've taken a lifetime lease on Paisley Park.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Yes, please, come forward.
Hi there, everyone. My name's Nick. I'm good mates with Trist. And yeah, I grew up basically with the Van Wyk since we were, like 3 years old at Alcana when we met, and we've been best friends since. And I also just want to speak on behalf of the Clipbook kids, Liam there in the back, and Andy and everyone there, and the Eads brothers. Uncle Anton was someone that almost was like all of our second dads. We would go away for weekends on a house on a river, and we would tube and ski, and Uncle Anton would sit down with us and he would tell us these crazy stories of back in the day when he was in the Navy. Half the time we were sure they were made up. He would talk about being dropped behind enemy lines and sneaking back in, and he would sit down and play guitar and teach us how to do that. And he imparted so much life experience onto us that at such young ages, and he was honestly an amazing figure that we all looked up to. He definitely inspired me to not necessarily take life so seriously, but to look for the fun in everything that you do. And to also look at what you're doing, and whilst I say don't take life seriously, do look at what needs to be serious and do take that seriously. I also just got to say he raised an amazing son who, whilst we're not the closest now, honestly, one of the bestest friends I've ever had. And you can see Uncle Anton in you. And if there's one thing he's left us with, it's his best legacy, which is you. Thanks everyone.
Right. Yes, they are. Mornay, there's somebody at the, is that Ronel? Ronel and then Mornay, please.
I am quite nervous, but I thought I would not do due diligence to one of my biggest mentors in life if I don't come and speak. We've been Tristan, we've never, maybe once in our lives, spoken face to face, but he shared so many stories of his encounters, and I'm sure back at home it happened the same. So my story, I'm probably one of the most uncanny people to be privileged to sit under his authority and his wing. I'm the social worker at the hospital, and it was due to him and Mrs. Blom that I got the employment in 2014. And I know even before I started that he and she fought for the position. And ever since then, he made sure that whatever we needed, right from the start, whether it was a headpiece that he explained to me in detail how to use it, and made sure that it worked, to the biggest patient-centered care program that we run, it didn't matter. His sense of detail was always there. But what I will remember is that he wasn't just a mentor, he was really a dad. So whenever you found yourself in a fix, you know his door was open. Always with authority. I know my legs, my broek het altyd bietjie gebewe as ek in sy kantoor gestap het. Felt like a headmaster's office, but at the same time, I don't know why, because he was never rude to me, he never scolded me. It was just that sense of authority, but at the same time, that sense of safety, and you knew whatever you could take to him, he will fight for you. When my mum passed away in 2016, very suddenly, when I heard the news, there was no other thought in my head except for running to his office. And he wasn't even there. I just sat in his office. And he walked out of a meeting to come and sit with me. So that is, as many people know, the stories that he would share. we have interest in two specific things that I would just want to share with you. It's small little tidbits, and as you said, there's so many people that sit here with stories of Dr. Van Wyk. The one time, I think, your car broke down, and we were in the middle of the meeting, and the meeting just stopped there, because you just had to sort out what happened there. And later, just before his retirement, we had a very valuable conversation about life. And I know earlier in his life, he was known, I think, I don't know if it was at Karl Bremer, but he had the nickname Hagar. So I know his authority was, he was quite forceful, and people knew that if he's there, you better, walk the line. But the Dr. Van Wyk I knew was always quiet, never rushed, always patient. I never saw anything else. And I asked him about it, and he said, my son taught it to me. So I don't know if he ever shared that to you. But he said the patience that he had to learn through that. And we're glad that we could see that in him through you guys, and similarly that we will see him further in life through you.
Thank you, Ronel. I can echo that. We've had many discussions where he told me exactly the same as you've just said, is that die rustigheid het gekom met rusting. Yeah. So that's a fantastic thing to say. Mornay, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mornay. I am the pharmacy manager at Netcare in One City. When I first met Anton in 2011, I heard of his position, and they were looking for a pharmacy manager that is willing to work with a very difficult hospital manager. And at that time, I said, that's a job for me. I've promised Anton 2 years, then I changed it to 5, and it's now been 10 years, and I couldn't leave. So I thought, why? It's because Anton has instilled in us a learning environment. And up to today, I'm still learning from the legacy that he has left at N1 City. There were so many firsts that he allowed us to do as an exco. From me being the clown, always trying to make the joke in the principal's office. And then last year came, 22nd of July, got the call to say, please stand in for me. It was so difficult, but with what he has told us over the years and the system and processes that he put in place, it was such an opportunity and such a privilege to actually step in for him. I saw him as a second dad as well. I saw Tristan the first time sitting in the oncology on the stairs playing with some Game Boy or something like that. Anton always was so concerned about the time that he wanted to spend with you as his kid, and also us at the hospital wanting that time. It was so special always being on the pharmaceutical side of things, and the vet having that position. Whenever I want to call that company's name, Anton said, no, I'm stepping aside, you can discuss it later on. But he had so much respect for his wife's position as well, and keeping that professionalism all the time. It always says manners makes a man, but that was Anton. You know, up to today, even he would have let me enter first through the door. Me being his junior, and learning from him. And that was so special. The fact that through his illness, he always chose in one city. One would think that one would want that privacy actually in your personal life. But he had so much respect for the personnel and so much trust in the doctors and the clinical skills that there are still today at In One City that he always came back to us. Really, as a hospital exco, because of the pandemic and his illness, it was so hard not to really say goodbye, and I really want to take this opportunity to say goodbye to him today. I said to him, I had many conversations of, we're trying to plan to say really farewell, would it be safe on the deck, would it this, but he wasn't a person that wanted this grandeur. He was actually the man of the moment, but he was always in the corner observing. And today I can say, as an In One Exco team, Anton, you can rest well, you have taught us well, and we will for many years carry that legacy forward. Thank you.
All right, folks, anybody else? If not, I think at the back, gentlemen, we can then play the next video.
Clarkson, and most of you know me as Anton's sister.
No, I think this was the original video.
At the unexpected loss of Anton, and I'm so sorry that I cannot be here today, especially with Viv and Tristan.
Right, so on behalf of the family, I would like to thank you once again for attending this wonderful celebration. We invite you to have some refreshments at the back. And Viv and Tristan, I hope you have peace in remembrance. People must please not forget to sign the commemoration book. If you want to write something, you are more than welcome. The book is on the table here in the foyer.